Welcome to Technically Speaking, the show for the technically challenged. Well, it's summertime, so we figured today we're going to talk about travel in technology. All of the different websites, apps, gadgets, and gizmos that'll make planning and enjoying your vacation so much better. Well, if we're going to talk about travel today, I figured I'd have a guest on, my favorite travel companion, my husband, Kieran. Welcome to Technically Speaking.
Well, thank you for having me. It's nice to be on this end of the camera for a change, rather than cheering you on from backstage.
Well, since you and I have planned and been on so many vacations together, I figure who better to talk about vacations and travel.
Well, they certainly bring about a lot of great memories.
Now, since we're talking about technology and computers, let's take a little walk back in memory lane. When you used to plan vacations, maybe even before we were married, what did you do?
Well, I'll have to remember a long, long way. But as I recall, that usually involved a trip to AAA, telling the travel representative that I wanted to go on a trip, getting all the appropriate tour books, and then having him sit down and go through map after map after map, preparing a triptych for me.
Oh, I love those triptychs. I was trying to find a triptych to bring on the show today. I'm sure our honeymoon triptych is someplace. And you'd see yourself going down the road and you get to flip, kind of like the progression of it all. It was very cool.
Seems like ancient history by today's standards.
Well, that's true. Yeah. So we're going to show the ways that technology is hopefully making it better, easier for our viewers, well, at least faster. But I don't think technology is always that great. Remember those little wheels that would tell you the odometer when you were going up to like 100,000 miles or so, and now it's all digital?
Sure, you'd gather around and wait for them to flip at just the right time.
Well, we just hit 100,000 miles on one of our cars, and it was really kind of boring.
It's not the same. It's not the same.
Okay, well, I have up here on the screen, there's lots of different travel and booking websites for finding out prices for airlines, car rentals, hotels. There's a million of them. There's Expedia, there's Travelocity. Who's Travelocity? Name your price. Priceline. Priceline, name your price, and that's what you get.
That's right. Bill Shatner from Star Trek.
Star Trek. Well, some of these news sites that they have, including this one that's here, Kayak, take a lot of prices from different places, so you don't have to go to each website individually. So we're going to pretend to book a flight on Kayak just to see what kind of options we come up with. So, we're in New York. Where should we go?
Let's check out some of the national parks out west.
National parks out west. So where should we fly into? How about, I'm going to type in the bar. Let's fly into Jackson Hole. Let's see, Jackson Hole. Do they have an airport? Oh, thank goodness they do.
Probably not a very crowded one.
I'm sure it's not. Now, I'm going to put in the dates of our trip, but isn't this nice? Before I even put in the dates, they're showing me about how much it's going to be to on these different dates. And that's really neat because look at this. I could tell immediately that if we travel on a weekend, for example, if we went on the 12th, it's going to cost us $798. But if we go on the 13th, we're saving $100 by just going on one day different. If we wait all the way until the 16th, we're down to $400. I think we better wait a couple of weeks to go to Jackson Hole. What do you think?
I'm sure we can find other ways to spend that money.
All right. Well, I'm going to pretend we're going on the 16th. I like that. So over here, I'm picking August 16th, and we'll return a week later. And I'm going to click to find flights. And here's all the different options on places they can check out for us. Now immediately they're going to return all sorts of prices. Oh, look at this, create a price alert. I'm going to skip that for now, but it looks like they'll email me all the prices. And here's our options, the times, the airlines, and all of the different prices. Well, that's a lot easier than when I used to sit there on the phone and you'd call American Airlines and then you'd call Continental Airlines and do this over and over. A little bit quicker.
A lot quicker.
Now, keeping in mind, doing all of this, I discovered the hard way that the price that's listed there, by the way, does not include taxes and surcharges and baggage fees and all that other stuff. So we'll take that kind of at face value before we go on.
Exactly.
But certainly it's a good start. Some other things we can do, even besides finding out how much it's going to cost, is deciding where we should go in the first place. And there's a couple of different options I've saved up here. Here's one website called Cruise Critic, and it rates all the different cruise lines and the ships. And what happens are people go on the ships, take lots of pictures and write in and tell you whether the food was good and the casino was bad and all sorts of things. And you can kind of read the reviews. I think with all these sites that have reviews on them, you have to take what you're reading and, I don't know if I want to say not believe it, but the ones that are really, really good and glowing, sometimes I feel like maybe the cruise line themselves put out those ads.
Well, everybody has their own personal agenda too, with their own axe to grind.
Well,
so
that's true.
You've got to take it all with a grain of salt.
So if there's a 1 to 5 star rating, maybe ignore the 5-star ones and ignore the 1-star ones, the people who just absolutely were never going to get pleased anyway.
Trust the numbers in the middle.
And read them and see what they have. Another one that gives nice reviews is TripAdvisor. That'll go through things like hotels or places of interest. The Eiffel Tower, I hope, got some nice ratings here. And one more that I was looking up, City Search. If we were going to a city, they're going to tell me about all the different entertainment and bars and restaurants and such. But again, we're talking crowdsourcing here. We used to just say, hey, do you know any good restaurants in San Antonio? This is kind of like asking 100 people.
Or you pull out the old tour book.
Or we could pull out the old tour book. Can you still get your hands on a tour book?
And probably in a museum.
So we've thought about some places to go. We found some prices on our places. We're ready to book a trip. Now, I know that I could book a trip right here. You know, I could just click on any one of these, select, and go ahead and book it. I could also call a travel agent. Do you use a travel agent still?
Every once in a while, sure.
Okay, I know you do trips with travel agents. We've booked with a travel agent. Even though we could book it here, travel agents, if there's ever a problem, God forbid your flight gets canceled or rebooked or there's an airline problem, it's nice to be able to call somebody who will be able to fix it for you. If you're kind of standing there in the airport alone and the plane has a flat tire, there's not a heck of a lot you can do about it.
That's right.
Okay, so we've got our trip all thought about, and now we're ready to start packing. Well, I know if I'm packing, I'm coming to the Weather Channel. And weather.com can tell me anywhere around the world what the temperature is going to be like. So if we were leaving tomorrow, I see that if we were leaving tomorrow, we probably shouldn't be going to the Caribbean. That never looks good.
You know, I don't know how much faith I have in some of those meteorologists anyway.
Well, that's true. They do make stuff up. But it's good to read, and at least the ones that are closer. I don't believe for a second they really know what's going to happen next Monday. But tomorrow, I think they'll know. Next one I have here is the flight status. This is very helpful. If we were leaving right now, for example, I can type in our airline. Let's see, American Airlines, there we go, and let me go for a flight 623. I'm not even sure if that's a real flight number, but let's find out. Nope, not a real flight number. Well, let me check by the airport. LaGuardia, there we are. And if we were flying on American Airlines today, departures, because I forgot the flight number, obviously. Let's see what comes up. Oh, now this is convenient. Usually you have to pull up to the airport, run in and look on those little television screens.
That's right.
We can find out what flights, what time it's supposed to be, the gate it's supposed to be at. These people are really not having a good time right now. Their flight was just canceled.
Good to know that in
convenient.
advance as well, since the airlines want you there about an hour ahead of time.
Yeah, and if this one's already delayed 157 minutes, why sit there in an airport for all that time? Well, I have one more website before we start leaving on our vacation, and that's the post office to stop our mail, or else it's all going to be piled up by the time we get here and probably soggy wet.
Also sends out signals that you're not home. and you don't want to do that.
Good point. So we'll just stop it right there at the post office. We can either go to the post office or we can go to the website. Okay, well now that we've planned our vacation, figured out the weather, next we're going to talk about some travel apps and things that are going to make our vacation go much smoother.
Sounds good.